What's up, Ryan here, and I've got for you another cool tip about using generative AI at work. Today's rule is it's a conversation, not a request. Now, where do we get to that? There's just this weird thing with the way that generative AI came out. You can actually tell that AI was built purely by tech guys with no product people there and almost no customer interaction outside of the bubble of Silicon Valley. What does that mean? Well, it actually happens a lot, and it happens a ton in the HR software space that I've seen. You get a bunch of tech guys together in Silicon Valley, they have their tech friends use their hiring software. Everybody thinks it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Even their HR person might be using it, but that HR person who works at a small tech company in Silicon Valley, she or he, they're not like middle America HR people, right? And so inside their bubble of rapid tech adopters with high risk awareness and willing to try anything and a craving for using the newest, coolest stuff, they love their product. Then they go and they show it to the rest of the world, and the rest of the world goes, I don't like this. It doesn't work the way I want it. It doesn't produce the result I want, etc. Well, when it comes to generative AI, we have this number one problem right off the bat. This idea that the little box in a chat is not called a chat box where I have a conversation. It's called a prompt box. That came from the tech guys. And the idea that somebody who's great at engaging back and forth with generative AI is a prompt engineer is actually harming getting users to use it and getting them to use it the right way in middle America or in the normal jobs that are not tech jobs. You see, the majority of us didn't wake up in the morning and say, I sure wish I could become an engineer someday. We didn't go to college to become engineers. We actually think engineers are kind of weird potentially, or at least definitely not like us. Right? And so I'm not a programmer. I'm a product manager and a marketer. I'm a talker, not a typer. I don't code things. I sketch user interfaces. I am more about psychology than I am about programming. And when you blend the two together, you figure out how to create a great user experience. But it requires both the hardcore tech engineer side as well as the softcore psychology, marketing, user interface, especially if your users are not even like me. They're actually out here. They're low tech adopters, low comfort level with new ideas and new technology, late stage adopters, very skeptical about the promises you make and unwilling to try new things unless they feel like it's worth their time. And that's where this whole thing of it's a conversation, not a request gets in. It's not this prompting idea of I'm going to send a demand and it's going to send me back the answer and it's going to be right and I'm going to be done. That is a construct of programmers who would be using generative AI for a set task that happens over and over again that they perfected. But for the rest of us who are just saying, hey, I want to use this to write an email. Hey, I want to use this to write a blog post. I want to use it to write a job ad. I want to, use it for whatever. It's a conversation, a collaboration back and forth between us and the bot. And if we want to get really good and fast at it to the point where we can send one request and get back one answer that works great, it most likely is going to take a whole lot of practice of refining and nailing the way you work with it. And it's probably going to take a prompt that's like 6 pages long. If you actually want to send one request and get back a final answer that's perfect, trust me, to do that in most cases, you need a 6-page long prompt. You just do, which means you're going to have this very long prompt. Or you could break it into a back and forth collaboration or a conversation where you send it some information, it sends you back, you send it some more, it sends you back. It's a conversation back and forth. I call it a thread, like a chat thread, meaning back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Just like if I got a new employee and I wanted to have them do a project for me, I would have a back and forth conversation where I would say, hey, I want you to do X. Does that make sense? And they would say, I have these 3 questions. Can you provide me more context? And I would say, here's the answer to that. Now, what do you think about that? And they would say, well, now I have these other few questions. And they would come back. And then maybe they would go and come back and say, here's the first draft. And I would look at it and mark it up and say, it's wrong here. It's right here. Can you change this? And then they would go back and they would adjust. You see, that's what it looks like when I'm collaborating with an employee, my assistant, one of my marketing people, a salesperson, whatever. It's a back and forth collaboration. Now, swap out an employee, swap in generative AI, me and generative AI, we're going to collaborate back and forth in that same exact way. Here's a project I want you to work on. What do you think? I could help you with X, Y, Z. Hey, here's a little more context about what I'm actually trying to do. Hey, well, this is how it would look. Great. Hey, but what would you need to know in order to make it more personalized to what we're doing? ChatGPT comes back and says, hey, I need the answer to these 5 questions. I might actually hit record on my phone, record my answers and give it back the transcript. And all of a sudden we get a great result. And it was quite a bit faster than if I'd done it alone, but it wasn't snap of the fingers like magic, and that's okay. Because while I'm learning how to use it and getting better at it, I need to slow down to make sure I get to a great result and I don't get frustrated by the fact it's not working. So, our rule for today, it's a conversation, not a request. And if you set that concept right up front, and there's an easy way to do it, the very first prompt you put in, the very first thing you spin, hey, my name's Ryan. I want you to be, Sally, my expert marketing assistant. Can you help me do some marketing? Press enter. It will respond by saying, hi, Ryan, I'm Sally. And it will set the stage mentally in your subconscious that, oh, I'm having a conversation back and forth. Then say, hey, I want to work on this project. Can you help me with it? Of course I can help you with that project. What do hey, here is some context about me, my company, my project that I'm working on. What else would you need to know to help me? Ooh, that one really there. Ask a question. It will tell you back the answer. Then feed it back the answer. So you see that back and forth flow? You're going to get to amazing results really quick. You're going to increase your confidence that you can get to amazing results. You're going to increase your certainty that it will work the way you want it to work. And then you will get faster each day, each time you do the same process. You'll get better and faster over time, but don't try to be better and faster on day one. So that's it. It's a conversation, not a request. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now. Go ahead, hit subscribe, like it, share it with a friend, throw me a comment. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, we'll talk to you again next time.